Hi, everyone. It's Sarah, the founder of the Live Like Rue Foundation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before we get to our guest today, it is coming up on our 9-year birthday. So basically, this foundation has been not here for 9 years. A few years ago, we got a sizable grant from one of our supporters. I actually had to pull over on the side of the road because we had never had this much money in our bank account. And it changed our lives, and it's changed a lot of other lives. So Chris Kohl Fund is what it's called. And every year around our birthday, we're able to help a rescue animal with funds that Chris left for us after he passed away. A little background. So Chris really followed and loved everything that we did at Live Like Rue. He would message me on Facebook. He actually was from the East Coast and was volunteering at an animal control there, and asked me for advice. And then unfortunately his dog got cancer, and it was really devastating for him. I often say, until you've had a pet with cancer, it's hard to understand. And I hate to say that, but it is so debilitating to somebody, and you feel like you're alone. And that's why we started Live Like Rue Foundation. When I found out that Rue had cancer, I had to pull over on the side of the road. I couldn't believe it. So this fund exists so that we can help other rescue animals. Chris would volunteer at Philadelphia Animal Care and Control all the time. He cared so much about those animals. And each year when we select the recipient, we comb through hundreds of applications. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests here. We're starting with Lonnie. Hello, Lonnie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
You work and volunteer at Homeward Trails, and you're based in Virginia. So tell me how you found out about us.
So one of our former employees, Ellen Perkins, had told me about your organization. She said she had been on the board at one point. And also, I had a dog with cancer, and we had connected with Fetch a Cure, who I contacted just recently and asked them if they knew of other organizations that could help Norman here with Homeward Trails. And they also told me about your organization. So that's how we started to send emails and see if you guys were able to help us at all with the surgeries and the treatment.
Yeah, so what is incredible, I feel like sometimes I don't realize how many people we reach because, I'm based here in Chicagoland. I live in the burbs, but like a lot of like the people in this area know Rue. They remember seeing his story on the news, but people now like Live Like Rue is like in the back of their minds, which is so amazing. We love Ellen. Ellen has been a supporter, wow, for so long. So we appreciate people that spread our word, but especially to rescues. Obviously, Rue came from an open admission shelter, was an owner surrender, was immediately, in danger of being euthanized because he's property of the city now. For those of you that don't know how that all works, when an owner signs over their animal, anything then can happen to that animal. It could be adopted, it could be rescued, or it could be euthanized. And for Rue, he was really sick. The flu was rampant at Chicago Animal Care and Control. So getting him out of there was so important. So that's why these animals like Norman, are so close to our heart. So Lonnie, can you just give us a little bit of background on Norman and his past? Because I know it's not for the faint of heart, for sure.
Yeah, so he was living in a rural area in Virginia with a family that had a hoarding situation. I don't know if they had cats, but I do know that they had too many dogs. They were all living outside on chains. And there were some of the animals that were there that had received, unfortunately, some physical abuse. Norman was not physically abused, but he was emaciated. And so him and all of the other dogs there were seized by animal control and brought over to a rural shelter. And Homeward Trails here in Northern Virginia, we partner with different shelters in rural areas where they don't necessarily have foster homes, or the animals are at risk for euthanasia because they can't get adopted out. So the rural shelter had contacted us and asked if we could bring Norman over to our area. And so we did. We put him here at our adoption center. And given the fact that how he was living outside and all that, they had asked if I could try to pull him from the center and find a foster for him. And that's how Alyssa came. Alyssa had responded to my email and offered to take him in. And soon after we found out that he had cancer.
Oh, that's so hard. I know how hard that must be. So Alyssa, I mean, you are graced with the presence of just a perfect gentleman from everything I've seen. But tell us about him and kind of where he is now. What is his prognosis, diagnosis? I know, all of these big terms sometimes, but if you can just kind of give us, the basics of where he is and how he's doing.
Yeah, thank you. And also had a dog with cancer, so I really appreciate what you do, who I had lost in the past, which is how I came to foster. When I saw Norman's picture, I just fell in love with his face, and he's just as lovable as he is in pictures. When he came to me, he was severely underweight. It was really my first time working with a dog like that. And he was an eager eater, fortunately, and he's put on great weight. And so, he's made great recovery from that situation. And you would really never know what his situation was, because he's just such a pleasant and loving boy, loves to play with toys. He's great at listening to instructions. He's really smart, and in the background doing a little like gnawing on a bone.
I thought so.
Yeah, he's making a racket. But he's just wonderful. And so, it was just, it was really devastating to hear when he came to us. Not only was he dealing with being severely emaciated, but also had this growth on his leg. And it just never, I would have never thought it would have turned into a cancer situation, but here we are. And he's just, he's got so much life ahead of him. He's not an old man. He kind of has an old man look to him, but he's got a ton of energy, super loving, and he needs this life-saving surgery to get on the other side and be able to enjoy the life that, he had, as Lanny and I were saying, he's been dealt a tough hand. And so he really deserves a wonderful future ahead and will make a family so happy.
Which I love that. It's so hard to foster. People always ask me about fostering. I foster like a lot of they're near the usually hospice, and it is really hard. I'm not gonna, but it's so rewarding at the same time, and it's soul crushing at the same time, especially with Alyssa, with a dog like Norman, where you're literally getting him through what is probably one of the toughest times in his life, minus that hoarding situation he came from. But it is a thing, and you get really attached to them. So Lonnie, can you kind of go over what is the surgery that he needs?
So he was brought to the vet, and they aspirated it, and we got a phone call telling us that it is a mast cell tumor. It is in the back of his leg, and the location is difficult, and the doctor's not sure that she's going to be able to get great margins. So he's scheduled, and I forgot the date now. Alyssa would know. It's in February. But he's going to have the surgery at our primary care vet, and then they're going to tell us how close the margins were. And she recommended him having some radiation treatment to ensure that they got rid of everything.
Yeah, so we got that. Chris Kohl, thank you. Chris Kohl Fund. Norman is our guy now. So you guys are stuck with us. Norman is a Roo dog for life. Anything he needs, let us know. We're going to pay all of those bills. Alyssa, if he needs a blanket, if he needs another bone, if he wants to have a steak, let us know. But you guys are stuck with us. And thank you to Chris Kohl and his family who continue to care and support. And, again, this money is so important that it goes to somebody like Norman and you guys who I've done everything for him. I'm gonna cry. It's just like
Yeah.
oh.
We thank you. We really do.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll be in touch. Let's get these bills paid. Let's get surgery done. Let's get radiation going. Let's get him a big, huge bed and a ton of those Nyla bones that he's chewing on there. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Thanks you guys for joining me. I love him. Please keep us updated.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you.